Pastor, come on back.
Hey family, it's time for Winedown with your host Missy and the Winedown Wednesday crew. Join us tonight as we discuss topics that affect families on a daily basis. So grab your glass, your cup, or even your blanket. Settle in on the couch and join us in the room as we go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hola, family, and welcome to another live edition of Winedown Wednesday. I am your host, Melissa Davis. Everybody calls me Missy. Welcome to the room. We are excited for our show tonight. I just can't even tell you how much we are excited for the show tonight. I will introduce our guest speaker in just a second, but joining me in the room, as always, you will see Angie, Sheen. I see Shelly is joining us in the room. And then we also will have different ones that come in. Remember, we're all mommies. So several of us have mom duty right now, and that means trying to put littles down. So we tend to pop in as we can, but as always, the conversation will flow. We agree to disagree. There's no hate speech here, and what happens in our house might not work in yours. These are all mom suggestions. So I hope that you have gathered something to keep you cozy and warm. For me tonight, it is tea and my chamomile tea. I know Angie was brewing some ginger tea right before we went live. So we hope you have something with you that is going to help relax you as we have a real mom conversation. Everybody in our room is going to be a parent. So the things we talk about, we've actually done, or we talk about the people we want to be, right? So we are in the room tonight and we are talking. Welcome to our live visitors that are joining us on Facebook. Thank you as always. Like and share this page as we're starting. And then for those that cannot join us, of course, it'll be on our YouTube page and you can catch the episodes at some point. So joining us in the room tonight, we have Dr. Deborah Wortham. I was telling her right before we went live, when you old like me, I had to make the print real big so that I could tell you some of the many accomplishments that she has successfully had in her life and her wisdom that she's going to share with us tonight. We are excited about. So I'm going to read you some of her bio, and then, of course, we will hear a hello from her, and we're going to jump right into the conversation. So Dr. Deborah L. Wortham is an educator, professor, author, elder, and she is nationally recognized on the lecture circuit. A native of Chicago, Illinois, Dr. Wortham is prepared spiritually and educationally. Y'all know we talk about that. You got to have both sides. She is the first locally elected superintendent of the Roosevelt Union Free School District in 11 years. During her tenure, the district moved from being a state takeover to good standing. Now, most of our people know we are in the Baltimore-ish area. So to go from the state wanting to take over to good standing, we applaud that. She is the former superintendent of the school district of the city of York, in York, Pennsylvania, Steelton, Highspire, I hope I'm saying that right, school district in Steelton, Pennsylvania. Dr. Wortham served as the first African-American female superintendent of the East Ramapo Central School District in Spring Valley, New York, where all 12 of the K-8 schools were in good standing. That alone, I'm very proud of. Dr. Wortham serves as the superintendent with the charge of Resetting Roosevelt. Dr. Wortham is a best-selling co-author of STEM Century. It takes a village to raise a 21st century graduate. Her next book, Studying the Atmosphere, Beliefs, Practices, and Protocols for Faith-Filled Educational Leaders, will be released in November of 2023. Her credentials include a doctorate in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a master's degree in reading from Morgan State University, whoop, whoop, Baltimore, Maryland, and a bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. Y'all, she was in school for a real long time, but we talk about that. She's featured in several educational videos, written numerous chapters for various books, and traveled extensively throughout the country. I want to jump down a little bit in her bio. Her national and international affiliations include being a member of the Theta Iota Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She's a member of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. Dr. Wortham has been married for 51 years to Elder Chester H. Wortham Jr., working together in ministry. They teach marriage seminars, leadership seminars, conferences, and they are also parents to my cousin Shelly and Chet, which I am going to share with you all a book this evening that I really want all of us to get, because we always talk about things to do with the littles, and we don't want to just play with toys and like have blocks on the floor. Like, we want to have play that they are learning from. And so we're going to tell you about Shelly's book in just a little bit. So I'm hoping that she can pop in for a minute. If not, I'm trying to have her back on a later show. So shout out to Shelly if you're able to jump in. Love you, cuz, for all that you're doing. So we're going to ask Dr. Wortham to unmute herself and say hello to you all, and then we're going to jump right into the conversations. Hi.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. Truly, it is my pleasure. It's an honor to share with you all this evening and just to be a part of this network. I had an opportunity to see your show last week, and it was absolutely awesome. So I made myself really comfortable. I wore my favorite sweatshirt that says, "Remember your why." And it helps to, keep me grounded, because I know that I'm in the midst of excellence. And so it's a privilege to be here this evening. Thank you so much.
Yes. So I had the opportunity last night to just have a little bit of conversation with Dr. Wortham to kind of make sure that we were all on the same page about what we wanted to discuss tonight. And I sent her several questions, but the one thing that I made sure I said was that those are just starter questions. It kind of just gets the conversation going, but we don't necessarily have to stick to those questions. I will tell you, when you have an opportunity, like when we spoke to the pediatrician, when you have an opportunity to ask a question from a great mind, I tell you to take the opportunity. And definitely, our family has a lot of educators. If I listen, there's a doctor over here and a doctor over here, but it's all education, right? Everybody it seems to move towards the education side of things. So I just count it as an honor to be an educator in a different field, because elementary studies was not my thing. Babies are my thing. So we're gonna keep in that conversation tonight. So one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I wrote down, that has been in my spirit ever since you said it to me last night, was we talk about, we always have conversations, make sure that your children know, like, don't hide things from them. When you've made mistakes in life or whatever, you share those things with them, right? So that they understand you better. They understand that we all have these things. But last night I was told to stop calling them mistakes and call them pre-wisdom and post-wisdom. So what did you do pre-wisdom? So I can't call them mistakes anymore. So what did I do in my pre-wisdom before I knew? And my post-wisdom, now that I know better, I do better. So hopefully that will stick with somebody else, and you can kind of change your language, because things that you do that you did that were unintentional, they don't necessarily mistakes, right? They're just wisdom building. And so I thank you for that last night. I really did. I wrote it down. It's all over my desk today because it's been a thing. So thank you. And I want to start with one of our questions to get the conversation going. As an educator, and in your bio it says you start as young as kindergarten. So most of the moms in our mommy group have littles that are 3 and under, unless they came in kind of with an older child. And what we're dealing with is, how do we know if these children, if we should have these children assessed for something? How do we know as a mom that has like a COVID baby that's been stuck in the house? How do we judge if educationally they are on track to even go into like a kindergarten situation?
Right. Well, this is where, that pre-wisdom and post-wisdom, that was divine. That really came from on high, from out of, I wish we had recorded that episode last night, because I had a great time sitting outside my house here in New York and just talking to my niecey. It was wonderful. So, as I said, I know I'm in the midst of experts, and I can share with you jewel or nuggets from all of my experience, not textbook, but I have 2 wonderful children.
Yes.
That I know I could probably write a book about them, but 2 wonderful children. And how do you know? Let me just go from the point that, yes, I was in school my whole life. 50 years straight, I was in school. And I was in school at Morgan State University working on my master's in reading. And we came to a point in the course, and the professor said, by the time a child is 18 months old, they should know the sounds that the letters of the alphabet stand for. Shelley was 16 months old. And I figured, oh my goodness, I have 2 months to make sure that my child knows the sounds, because we always say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Come on now.
Yeah,
And then we got to the place where we learned it backwards. Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, O, N, M, L, K, J, I, H, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Let me hear you say, because if we...
I don't know that. Nope.
If you know the alphabet, of course we know the rhyme A, B, C, D. That's so cute. Baby knows their letters. They can sing the song. Try it backwards. Try letter recognition. But here it is. My husband worked in Glen Burnie. So 1-car family. I had to drive to Glen Burnie every day, 45 minutes to pick him up. In that 45 minutes, Shelley, A says, ah. Yes, mommy. B says, b. C, k. D, d. All right. So we made it. When Shelley was 3 years old, because in Baltimore, you have, if you're not 5 by December 31st, you have to wait until the next year. So we took her to Towson State, Lighterly Tall, and the teacher came out screaming, your daughter is reading the test. Yes, she can read. No. She's reading my teacher's manual. Listen, by the time a child is 18 months old, they have to be able to pronounce the sounds that the letters of the alphabet stand for. Why do I know the alphabet backwards? Because as a kindergarten teacher, I taught the young people the letters of the alphabet backwards, so that they would know, no matter where they saw them, it wasn't a part of a rhyme, but there was a reason for that strategy.
Okay, so we all losing over here. I'm just going to throw that out there, but nobody said that, because growing up, it was, as long as they know they could say the alphabet, they knew their colors, and they knew their shapes. Even at the pediatrician, that's all they ask. They don't say anything about this piece. So that was a nugget within itself. We all going to be tomorrow going over letter sounds with the babies.
So let me just say that no matter what no matter what, the emphasis is, if you're in the car, spend the time looking and reading and pointing out McDonald's, McDonald's, emphasizing that. Make your rooms print rich. I remember putting index cards in the kids' rooms, like on the dresser, labeling the dresser and labeling the door. And by the time those index cards, the tape, we always buy cheap tape, don't judge me. But by the time the index cards fell off, they could go back and try to, tape it back up. I remember we were in the car, and every time something happened, Shelly would holler, Coley Spa, Coley Spa. What? What's a Coley Spa? I'll give you 2 guesses. Come on, Angie, you got it. Yes. Yes.
Police car.
Police car. Get those initial consonant sounds straight. Coley Spa. We laugh about it to this day. But everything is an opportunity to learn, so that your student, your child, when it's their time for an assessment, that they can read the teacher's manual.
Yeah, that. Now, we did talk about labeling the like the cabinets and the door, like different things around the house we talked about, but I guess we don't want just sight words. And I think a lot of places have gone to just sight words. And if it's not a sight word that you've taught them and they can't recognize the letters and the sounds and sound it out, I mean, we're really doing them a disservice. But to start that early, I had never even, and I got 100 kids, I had never thought about starting that this early. We're doing it now because they're 3 and we're homeschooling. So we're sitting down and we're going through, but I never would have thought about it at like that 18-month time.
Everything is an opportunity for learning. For instance, when we were in church, you have to learn scriptures. So A, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. B, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and thou shalt be saved. C, children, obey your parents. I love that one. And the Lord, for this is right. D, depart from evil and do good. E, even a child is known. So no matter what it is, no matter what the environment, take advantage every opportunity. Now you said 3, Missy. 3 is a significant number. 18 months is significant. 3 is significant. By the time a child is between 2 to 3 years old, I don't like this, but it bears witness. They have already reached 50% of their adult intelligence. By the time a child is 2 to 3 years old. So when you see kids, Pookie's so cute, Pookie not cute. Pookie is doing what Pookie's supposed to do. Wow. By the time a child is 2 to 3 years old.
Wow.
Now, so if you're not seeing that, and I know you are, because what I saw last week, powerful women. You'll have me a little nervous about coming on your show tonight. So 2 to 3 years old. 2 to 3 years old. Let me tell you how I found that fact. I can base a fact with an experience and then get with smart people who can verify it. My son would get in trouble with me because he was always talking back at 2 years old. Like, who says words like this? So I'm reporting him to the pediatrician, like somebody call Protective Services, DSS, or something, because I am getting ready to do old-fashioned, slap him until next year. Yeah. And the doctor said, hold on, mother, hold on. That's when he stated that fact. By the time He's 2 to 3 years old. He has already obtained 50% of his adult intelligence. So as a superintendent, when I go into pre-K, I expect sentences. I expect developed sentences, vocabulary. One of our kindergarten students, Missy, I'm not judging you, but you blew up the resume and read it. A kindergarten student memorized that same resume.
Yes, I'm not mad.
Wow.
And I'm gonna tell you who in this chat it sound like, but we all know who gives you full conversation while they're being recorded across the room all the time. We're not gonna call her name, my best friend. Full conversations. We get videos all the time. Do y'all see this? And be over there just making me mad. And I don't want to do stuff that I don't want to. And this was before she was completely 3. So the fact, yeah. So what was your question, Mother Rouse? Like, is this normal? Yes,
I guess it
apparently
is.
it's normal.
I guess it is.
Normal. Listen. So,
Wow.
okay, so you said that. Now let me ask you this, because somebody told us that because they don't always tell factual information. I'm not gonna call it lies because we wasn't allowed to call it lies when we were little. We couldn't use the word lie. But unfactual information seems to sneak in there with those fully developed sentences and things. And what were we told? It was a higher level of thinking because they've already seen past if they told the truth, that what the consequence was going to be. So they didn't exactly tell it. Didn't a pediatrician say that to one of us in a pediatrician appointment? Like it was a higher level of thinking, even at that age, they're trying not to get in trouble. So they altered the story a little bit. That's what we were told by a pediatrician. Somebody's pediatrician said that. What's your thoughts on that?
To alter the story?
Yeah. So you say, did you like you come in and you find your refrigerator open? Did you open the refrigerator? No, knowing that they did, and they know if they say yes and they were told to stay out, then there's a consequence. So they have already figured out how to get out of trouble.
Yeah. So that is pre-wisdom right there. Right there. Because you, as a parent, it is your job to cultivate creativity for your young people. Creativity, not just in the arts, creativity in conversation, creativity in any means necessary. I am the mother of a creative son. How do I know that? I have receipts. Listen, when my son was in first grade, the rule was if you're a good person that day, then you get a smiley face, right? No, second grade. You get a smiley face from the teacher. If you had some kind of altercation, you got a worm. My son brought home a smiley face every day until the first marking period when we had parent-teacher conferences. So I'm walking into the second grade class, because I'm a teacher. And so I'm walking into this second grade class. I know the routine. I know that they're going to say how wonderful my son is. And we walk in, my husband and I, there's my son's name on the board. And I said, oh, Chester, we are just the best parents because our son is so good. His name is on the board. Taronda, you laughing at me already. Listen, I have never been so embarrassed. Let's call the teacher Mrs. Smith. And I'm sitting down, hello, Mrs. Smith, how are you? So nice to meet you. We've heard such good things about you. Really? I was wondering why I haven't heard from you. Oh, what do you mean? Your son received one smiley face in 45 days, and all the other days he received a worm. I want to know why I haven't heard from you. Number one, don't shake your head. Don't go there. So I turned sideways, and I just said, okay, my son, the creative genius that he is, recycled that smiley face for 45 days. Let me tell you, I never had to call DSS, but that night I was going to report myself. So as a consequence, he was on punishment for 180 days. We remember this just like it was yesterday. There was no movie. And so when one child is on punishment, you know what that means. The whole family is on punishment.
Yeah.
After the 180 days, June, he was off of punishment. From that time forth until college, I did not have to reprimand my son at all.
Oh, okay.
At all. Well, I did. There was a little caveat there. There was a little dip. But for the most part, he got the message. This is, and I couldn't stifle because that was bold. He was having a good old time, but he never let us know. So you have to connect with the school when you don't hear anything. Connect. If you do hear something, connect. Yeah.
So Toya is watching on Facebook, and she said the way she is hollering at her house right now is amazing. So just so you know, and we have a question from Kiera. She said, what are your thoughts about using YouTube or TV shows to help teach the littles? What are the best practices or techniques to get the littles up to speed educationally? That's a good one because YouTube is a thing.
Yeah, I call it YouTube University. That and Siri and Google and now Chat GPT. Oh my goodness, my BFF right about now. And so, yes, by any means necessary. But what I find, now I'll fast forward to Chet and Shelley being in college, but Chet would always call me and he would say, Mom, I don't want to, I have a test tomorrow. How can I study for a final? Chet, what do you mean? You had all this time. But Shelley, when I heard from her in college, she would answer the phone. You always heard noise, like it was always a party. One group was studying one chapter. One group was studying another chapter, and then they would pool their resources. This is the number one job of parents. I'm going to say it. Everything is number one job. Find out, help your child to discover how they learn.
Yes, we say it all the time.
Our job is to develop our young people. So exploration, if you see they don't like paper, go to pots and pans. If they have to have music, go for it. Don't judge me. I was 50 years old when I learned how I learned. Way too late. So now I'm on this campaign to make sure our young people know how they learn, because teachers teach in the volume in which they learn. So no matter how they put it out there, our young people have to know how to convert it so I was working on my dissertation and I had to drive an hour and a half to class. I met with the professor And he said, I said, everybody says that they fail your class. He said, yes, and you will too. Hold up, brother man, I'm paying for this class, you know. And so, so he said, you will too. So what I did was to record his lectures. On the way home, I would put the cassette, see how old this is, put the cassette in my car and listen to it. When I got home an hour and a half later, hey, cutie, how are you?
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, distraction. But when I see a cute face like that, you have to recognize them and bring them into the room.
yes.
Bring them. No more children should be seen and what? Not heard.
Not heard.
Bring them into the room at a young age. Yeah. So anyway, so I would drive home, listen to the lecture. When I got home, I would go to the family room, listen to the lecture and type it. So now I have a script and I have audio. In preparation, I would read the script and listen simultaneously. Listen. I have journals. I must have at least 400 journals because when I am trying to absorb something, I script it and then I can read it back. Script it and read it back. In that class, I got the highest score out of 3 cohorts. No, I didn't fail that class. How you like me now, sir? Dr. Professor. So you have to know how you learn. Expose your child. Expose them.
Yeah.
The difference in how a lot of different cultures is the exposure. Here's my silver bullet before I forget, because I don't want to disconnect without giving this. What I believe in my heart of hearts is the difference in young people who are moving forward like rocket speed and those who are not. Here's the one word. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Confidence. 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 Mommies, build confidence in your young people. Confidence leads to a desire to explore, to experience, to put forth effort, to work hard. That leads to achievement, no matter what it is. No matter what it is. And for you, do your own self-talk. People talk about self-care. Your self-care has to be your self-confidence. Look in the mirror every day, give yourself a high five and say, I'm the best mother known to anybody. And my children are better because of me. Are your children moving forward because of your motherhood? That's the question you got to ask. Build confidence. Build confidence. That is the difference. And then when they have confidence, when they come up or meet an obstacle, you know, children in the kindergarten, their greatest fear is, will I have friends? Build the confidence to know that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, that they are wonderful children. Who wouldn't want to be your friend? And if Shaniqua says, I don't like you, say you're missing a golden opportunity. Holla.
I love it. I love it. And I'm glad you said that. I posted something the other day with Queen, and she had the baby carrier, and she was walking around the house, and everything she did, she had one hand on the back of the baby's head. She was doing her puzzles, she colored, she did everything. And I posted, when you see the mom you hope you are, right? Because I've gotten away, and they know I say this all the time. Holding your baby and connecting with your baby is not spoiling your baby. It is teaching your baby to trust you. It is teaching your baby to know you and to have confidence that you're always their safe space. So no matter what, they're 3, and I've been known to wear both of those jokers in public, one on the front and one in the back, because we're somewhere and they don't feel safe. And so I never say you're okay. Like, I hate that. You're okay. No, apparently I'm not okay, because I'm expressing to you that something's wrong and I'm not okay. That's where your confidence starts. Your confidence starts, the confidence in you and you building confidence in themselves is in you being there and not sitting them down and walking away and doing something else and sitting them down. It's sitting down and experiencing those things with them and helping them to face their fears and not just telling them that, oh, you're okay. No, why am I okay? Explaining to me why I'm okay, and holding them and loving them and nurturing them. That's why I say COVID was a blessing and a curse. We didn't want to be sick. Nobody wanted to wear the mask, but it forced moms to be at home when they had these babies. And you all know it was hard for you all to go back to work after like a year, 2 years. Some people are still working from home, and you had that luxury until you felt like it was time to put them in daycare or it was time to put them in school and kind of let them go. But it wasn't a 6 weeks, the doctor said, go back to work. And now you dropping them off and you're gone 8, 10, 12 hours a day. They don't know you, right? So for those that have to, I get it. Find other ways to connect, hold your baby, lay with your baby, sing to your baby, like use that time in the car that she was talking about earlier to express that learning journey, because they're learning other things without you. Make sure that they're learning the important things with you. Rachel, I see your hand, mommy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I remember seeing something, I don't know where, someone said, to all those mommies that, you know, you have the kid that wants to hug all the time and wants to be the one helping you out, and you feel as if they're always, you know, they never leave your side or whatever. They're like, something about like, do you ever think that that's their love language, right? Because you have love languages that are physical touch, acts of service, quality time, all those things. And when you look at it, look at all those love languages and look at how your child is relating to you. Are they displaying those love languages and you're inadvertently trying to put it out because you feel like, oh, they're too much in the moment or whatever? It's like, no, like recognize it and kind of help build that up and foster it, because they're displaying, this is what makes me happy, by being next to you, by helping you out and hugging you and all those. It was like, oh, okay. Like it was it was just a stupid little post and I read, I was like, oh no, this resonates. This makes sense.
That was a nugget.
You know,
that was the slightest little things that makes the greatest difference, right? So we have to retrain ourselves, because we were of the generation, and I'm older than all of y'all and old enough to be most of y'all's mothers, but we were in the generation where, like she said, you were to be seen and not heard. You couldn't engage in the conversation. You couldn't ask for why. You couldn't, you were just supposed to kind of be there. So we talked about this during the other chat. People say, oh my goodness, they so smart. Yeah, they are so much smarter than you. No, they aren't any smarter now than we were. It's just that we allow our children to grow, like she said, and expand and explore, whereas we were just told to be quiet. Adults are talking, be quiet, or go outside and play. Well, they know as little as you do who you outside playing with. So it's the blind leading the blind outside? Can I come inside and at least figure out, you know, something about life? So engaging in those conversations. And that's what we say to the moms that are on our call sometimes. It's like, well, they're not talking. They're not, okay, well, are you having conversations? Because Rachel is quick to say, well, stop talking at them, have a conversation and wait for an answer. Like when I talk to my son, I'm saying this and I'm helping him craft a response and helping him to say those words. So you got to be intentional about parenthood and their education. And that's why we're doing this series, because if you don't start their education at a young age, you miss building blocks. And then you want them to go from here up to here, and all of this is missing, and then they fall behind. And you've heard the story of my husband who didn't know that he had dyslexia until he was like fifth grade, right? He went all the way through first, and he was just put in different reading groups. Oh, y'all sit over here and I'm going to read with the readers. And then you play with blocks and I'm going to read with the readers. And that whole group was dismissed. And so by the time he got to fifth grade, he was barely reading. Like, he felt like for a long time he was like slow. He was behind. He was not able to learn. His brain didn't work the same. And now you're talking about somebody with a master's degree. He had to figure out how he learns. And it's funny because I see him, he'll have the highlighters. And if he's got to give a speech, he's doing this and he's reading, babe, listen to this, babe, listen, and he's writing. And so that's how he processes, where he was like, I don't know how you do it. You read something and you just go. That's how I process. Like I process it a little bit faster. So it's amazing that you say that, like, learn how your child learns, because I don't think people take the time to realize there's more than one way to learn.
When we do that, failure is an experience. And we can always overcome obstacles. When we do that, I'll give you an adult story. My aunt, when kids were little, bought us a car, Toyota. So we had to drive it from Chicago to Baltimore. It was a stick shift. I didn't know how to drive a stick shift. And my husband drove it back. And then we got back to Baltimore, and, you know, he's driving the new car to work and I'm driving the old car. And I'm thinking, well, when am I going to learn to drive the new car? He said, wife, your legs and your hands are not coordinated enough to learn to drive a stick shift. So you just go ahead and keep the old one out. That did not resonate with me. Now, you know, this old saying, if you want, you know, if you don't want people to know something, put it in a book. So I put it in a book, and I didn't put it in a book, but I got a book on stick shift driving. And I said, well, this doesn't seem too hard. So when he came home from work, I would take the car, drive it a block, come back. Then the next couple of days, drive it another block, come back. Finally, y'all know Baltimore, Mulberry Street, right?
Oh.
Is Mulberry Street the biggest hill you've ever seen in your life? So I said, okay, God, I'm driving down up Mulberry Street. Please don't let the light turn what?
Red, because you might
don't let the light turn red. That light turned as red as your shirts. And I just said, God, I prayed that the light wouldn't turn red. But before I left the house, I put a sign in the back of the window that said new stick shift driver. So anyway, if you can read that, do not get close to this car. And when that light turned green, I never drifted back. I took off, and I can drive a stick shift to this day. Yes. Listen, when you are building the confidence and
yes.
An obstacle becomes your friend, because it's an opportunity to kick in gear and say, come on now, we got this. My son had a scholarship, and he said, he would call me and say, Ma, I need to pass this exam. I said, Chet, do you want to be a burger boy all your life? Or do you want to be an executive or something? Well, what are those three words, Ma? Commitment, focus, and strategy. Those three words will take us through life. Are you committed? Are you focused? And what is your strategy for accomplishing anything? Ooh. I got it, Ma, I got it. Okay. Holler at me when you get your exam back. And he passed. Over and over and over. Teach young people. I'm committed to it. Now I'll tell you about my son. He bought a dog for the boys. They're young, elementary, middle, one high. And he gave them the ground rules. Are you committed to taking care of this dog, which means feeding, walking, etc.? If not, the dog goes back. I was in Baltimore last week. I saw the cage, but I didn't see what?
The dog.
As we say in Baltimore, the Doug. The Doug was gone. I said, what happened to the Doug? Doug went back. The commitment, there was no focus, and they didn't have a strategy for walking that dog every day. So these are life lessons that we must share with our young babies. Young.
Ooh, I love it. T-Rhonda, I see your hand, Mama.
Hi. I have a question.
Hey.
So my son is 1. I want to know, how do you find out at this age what their learning process or the way that they learn? Because I read to him all of that stuff, but he doesn't know any he knows un poquito English and Spanish. I don't know what he's saying half the time. I just make it up. But like, so how do you know how they learn and process? Like, how do you find it out at this young age? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Have you, when I said earlier that by the time they are 18 months old, that they have mastered the sounds that the letters stand for. Have you been working on that?
So I just heard that tonight for the first time. So no, I do like flashcards with the letters and affirmations and the sounds, and he claps. But I mean, he can say like "ah," but I don't know if he's saying "ah" because he's just saying "ah," or if he's saying the sound that the letters making. I don't know.
Okay. I normally say if a young person can be understood by someone who doesn't live in the house, if somebody who doesn't live in the house can understand what your child is saying, cool breeze. Other than that, what do we say? Early detection. Have them assessed.
Okay.
Go to your pediatrician. If you have any questions, go to your pediatrician. And I will tell you, that's one thing that people of color hesitate to do, to seek advice, seek counseling. So go and have a conversation. Yeah. So I wore this t-shirt tonight. Remember your why. Remember why we wanted a baby. And that's our motivation to do what we need to do. Yeah. And then too, Taronda, watching patterns, habits of what they do. Watching, because he's communicating with you.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely is communicating with you. So watch the patterns. Watch what draws his attention. When you're in the kitchen, is he pulling out the pots and the pans?
No, he's looking for snacks. He's not.
That's my boy. That is my boy. Let me have him for a month. That is my boy. Snacks. Yeah.
That's what my mom calls them, snacks.
Right. So what kind of snack, and talk to him about the snacks. Is it sweet? Is it crunchy? Name the snacks and cause him to say he wants this snack without pointing. Tell me the name of it. What is it? And repeat it, rehearse it with him. And you model. I love cookies and cream.
Okay.
You model. And you'll hear him say, Ma, cookies and cream. He's going for it. And if you demand that he articulate it, he's going to follow suit.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That point thing, we talked to that, and it's with first time parents, because we get into the habit of just kind of knowing what they want, and if they want to be picked up or if they want to point at something and we just do it. We talk about that all the time. Make them ask for it, and the best way that they can to start that language. And it's amazing that you said that, because in the last, I think, month, multiple moms, we've all been having the babies assessed so that we know if they're on track, if what's our starting point, what's happening. So we push that you talk to your pediatrician, and if your pediatrician is not giving you information, ask questions, because your insurance is paying them all this money. Spend all this time in their office and go on with the list of questions and concerns and things like that. So we just had the girls assessed. I know Rachel just had her son assessed, several of the moms, to make sure that there are no missing gaps or things that we need to do to fill in those gaps. So I'm so glad that you said that. Before we run out of time, like I said, I promised I wanted to show you all this book on family science night. So we talk about the activities that we can do with our littles to build in them. And one thing that she and I were talking about last night is, if you can figure out if science, if your brain can figure out science, you can do whatever you want to do. So I love to say that my cousin Shelly, Dr. Wortham's daughter, who is also a doctorate, has her doctorate, wrote a book. And I wanted to share this book with you all and encourage you to go onto Amazon and buy this. Family Science Night. It's hands-on activities. It's intentionally sitting down with your children or your child and doing those hands-on activities, because like she said, use whatever tool. We had Schoolhouse Rock on Saturday mornings. That's how I learned the preamble to the Constitution, and that's how I passed my social studies test, when she said, I need you to write the preamble, and we had to write it out, and I was singing it in my head as I was writing it out. Whatever works. That's how we learned our multiplication tables, conjunction, junction, what's your function? Like, all of those things helped us to learn. So you got things like, you have things like Miss Rachel and Miss Monica and all of these different people that are teaching different things. But don't let that be your child's only educator, right? You sit down with them with books like this and take the time to teach your kids and be hands-on. And I know Mother Rouse, spelled M-U-V-A, because we are from Baltimore. Mother Rouse is always our go-to for the science activities that she does with her daughter, and she'll whip something up. She's the DIY queen. If you name it, she could do it. And if she don't want to buy it, she gonna make it. Like, that's her. So they did a butterfly. They did the whole thing with the butterfly. They ordered it, they bought the nets, they had all of the stuff. And then they had a party on their deck, which was like this butterfly release. Baby had on a dress, got her hair done. There was balloons. Like, it was a whole party for this butterfly release situation. And we all on there like, you can do that? That's a thing? Where'd you get it from? So I'm sure Amazon blew up with the butterfly kits, because we all bought butterfly kits that day. So things like that encourage their learning. Homeschooling, I want my kids to learn about Idaho potatoes, but I don't want it to be from a book. I want to go to Idaho. I want to find me a farmer, and I want to say, can we spend a day on your potato farm and learn about this? So our schooling journey, we want the girls to hit all 50 states by the time they're 18. And I want them to know something about that state that's special about that state, like a hands-on. If you can't do that, it can be found in a book, right? So find it in a book. Find out, some kids will always be hands-on learners. I hate a lecture, bless the Lord. Can I be honest? You will bore me to pieces if I have to just sit and let the dry-eyed guy talk about election. I'm sorry, Shayla. I know you a professor too. If I got to sit in there and listen to y'all lecture me, I'm probably gonna be asleep. I'm not even gonna lie. I would prefer to be hands-on and doing the stuff myself. So that's just me. But find out how your kids learn. Start with books like this, and then go to the next thing, and then to the next thing. So I encourage you. Come on, guys. We've got to do better. Like, my girls are not going to be that in first and second grade and Johnny can't read. Like, that's not a thing. The teachers are not your children's only educators, right? People seem to think they get them up in the morning, give them breakfast, send them to school, and then when they come home, like, there's no follow-up. Okay. So some people used to put the note on the back where they would pin it to the back of the kid so they could make sure that the kid didn't take it off when they got home, and then the parents would see, because if you put it in the book bag, they're going to take it and toss the note before they get home. Like, kids are real creative. So you got to be at the PTA, or PTSA, I think it's called now. You got to be at the meetings. You got to be the class mom that's going to show up and ask the teacher what they need, and all of that, to make sure that you are invested in your children's education. It is so very important. I thank you all. It is never enough time for these types of conversations. It seems like when we have a not so charismatic speaker, we on here like this for an hour, and then there's those times like tonight where I feel like the hour kind of flew by. We are so appreciative of Dr. Wortham being on. For me, my Aunt Debbie, I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm so appreciative of her being in our space. Before we go, I'm going to take a quick question from Rachel, and we're going to get things set up to do our outro. Yes, ma'am, Rachel.
I don't have a question. I just want to say, especially for those that are probably watching on Facebook, if you're not in the state, check with your state to see if they have an infants and toddlers program or something. They offer free assessments. Because I heard when Dr. Wortham was like, most of us wouldn't go out and ask for help. We've all at some point experienced it, where we go to our pediatrician and it's just like, oh yeah, it's normal, or, like they don't take it as seriously. These people that do these assessments, that is their job, right? So for us, it was just like, oh, he's stuttering, let's take a look and see and make sure it's nothing. And she's like, yeah, we'll keep coming and we'll give you 2 hours here, 45 minutes here. And it's like, oh, wow, really? It's free? It's offered by the whole state of Maryland, regardless of whatever county you're in. You can take advantage. And if you're not in Maryland, in your state, look up and see if that is offered. So you don't have to worry about, oh, there's a charge or whatever. It's free. So.
Yeah, and check with your insurance company as well, because I know when we were wondering about the girls and the putting things in their mouth, I checked with my insurance company and they said, well, you are allotted this many sessions if you want them to see like a speech therapist or sensory therapist. So sometimes your insurance companies will cover those things as well. So the school system, your insurance, ask another mom. Find out in your mom groups. That's one thing we're good about in this mom group. We found a good pediatrician, and then 50% are going to this pediatrician. And somebody says, oh, I like this pediatrician. We do that with everything, with our healthcare, dentists, everything. We come in and we share with each other the people that we like, the doctors that we like, the speech therapists that we found, all of these things. So talk to other families and other moms that are in your area to find out what services and assessments are available to you for anything. That's any service. So again, we appreciate you all. I'm glad to see Kendra popped in the room. Hey, Kendra. T. Rhonda, you not on the floor tonight, so we glad you not having to do no cardiac nothing for nobody tonight. You were able to join us in the room, so we so appreciate you being with us. Join us again next week. We are going to continue our conversation in the education of our children. I want to try in our last episode, if I can, really to get Shelly to come in with us and talk about her book and actually give us some hands-on tips. I didn't think about it till right before the show, but I did reach out to her and she sent us the link to her book. So I would really like to get her in here so that she can give us some DIY. And she also has an educational program. She's one of the Primrose schools. So y'all know Primrose. It's like that, right? So that's what we're striving for. That's the educators we want for our children. So I'm going to see if I can have her to come in the room. And if she can't, maybe she can join us for one of our normal afternoon Tuesday chats so that we can talk. But I appreciate you all so much. Again, we're going to say good night here for the group. But we're going to ask everybody to just kind of stay with us for a second after our outro so that we can say our good nights to those within the group. So at this time, we're going to go camera off and on mute so that we can run our intro, and then we'll come back and say good night to the group.